I was discriminated against all my life because of my golden child sister. Finally, I got my sweet revenge on my wedding day. Before watching the video, right where you are watching it in the comments, subscribe and like so that more people can watch this video. Enjoy. I'm Sarah, 28 years old, female, and I swear sometimes I feel like I was born into the wrong family. My whole life has been about being less than compared to my sister Emily, 30, the so-called golden child. Emily has always been the star, straight A's, cheer captain, the kind of girl who'd get picked first for everything. My parents fed into it constantly. She got the new clothes, the car at 16, the framed newspaper clipping when she won some regional pageant, and me. I got the hand-me-downs, the you should be more like your sister speeches, and the silence when I brought home my own accomplishments. I remember one Christmas when I was 15. Emily opened a box with the newest iPhone inside, sparkly case and all. I opened mine and found a pack of study skills workbooks. Dad said, "This'll help you catch up." Mom smiled like she'd just solved the world's problems. Emily was already snapping photos of her phone to show off to her friends. That moment burned into me, not because of the phone, but because I realized I could light myself on fire and my parents would still only ask if Emily was warm enough. The pattern never stopped. Emily dropped out of her first college. My parents called it finding herself. I graduated with honors from a state school. My parents said, "Well, at least you didn't fail." She got a new car after totaling the old one. I bought my own used Honda with waitressing tips, and my dad joked, "Guess that's a motivation to work harder." The worst was how Emily treated me. She wasn't just spoiled, she weaponized it. Every time we fought, she'd whisper, "They'll never believe you." And she was right. Once she broke a vase in the living room. I got grounded for being careless. Another time, she stole money from Mom's purse. I got called a thief. After enough of those, you stop fighting. You just swallow it and build armor around your heart. But no armor is perfect. I'd watch her bask in their love and feel this ugly cocktail of envy and grief, like a mourning parents who were alive but never really mine. When I got engaged to Danielle, my fiancé, I thought maybe things would change. A wedding is supposed to be about the bride, right? About me. But from the second we announced it, I could see the shift. Emily, in her fake sweet voice, "I'll help Sarah plan. You know she gets overwhelmed." Mom clapped her hands like Emily had just offered to donate a kidney. Dad nodded. "Your sister's got such good taste." That's when I realized my wedding wasn't going to be my day. It was going to be another stage for Emily. And something in me snapped. I didn't know exactly how, but I knew one thing. Emily wasn't going to steal this from me. Not this time. The wedding planning turned into hell almost immediately. I dreamed of something simple. An outdoor ceremony, warm string lights, maybe 60 people tops. Daniel was on the same page. He just wanted it to feel like us. But Emily. She hijacked it from day one. She inserted herself into every decision like she was auditioning for her own bridal special. Mom handed her the binder I'd started putting together right in front of me and said, "Emily has an eye for these things. Let her guide you." Guide me? It was my wedding, not a group project. She tore through my plans like a hurricane. The pale green bridesmaid dresses I'd picked. Too muted, makes everyone look sick. The local bakery I wanted for the cake. Not Instagrammable enough, you'll regret it. She actually suggested we book the same venue she wanted for her future wedding, like I was just her dress rehearsal. And the thing is, my parents backed her every time. I tried to push back, and Dad would say, "Listen to your sister, she's just trying to help." Mom would sigh, "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Harder? For who? Me? The actual bride? One night, Daniel and I came home after a cake tasting, exhausted but happy, because we'd finally found something we loved. The small local bakery that made a lemon raspberry cake so good I almost cried. Emily was waiting at our place. She let herself in with the spare key because Mom told her where we hide it. She was sitting on my couch flipping through a bridal magazine like it was her apartment. When we told her about the cake, she wrinkled her nose and said, "That's peasant food. You need at least a 4-tier fondant cake. Otherwise people will think you couldn't afford better." Daniel actually laughed, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. She stood up, smoothed her dress, and said, "I already booked a tasting at the upscale patisserie downtown. You're welcome." I wanted to scream. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit on them, but Daniel just put his hand on my knee under the table, grounding me. Later that night he whispered, "We can cut her out if you want. It's your call." And for a moment I almost did it. But then I thought of my parents. If I excluded Emily, they'd never forgive me. They'd make me out to be the villain, the ungrateful daughter. That's when the rage started turning into something else. Something colder. Because if Emily wanted to be the star so badly, maybe I'd let her. But on my terms. I started to plan, not just a wedding, but a reckoning. It was like Emily sensed I was pulling back because she doubled down. She didn't just want to help anymore, she wanted to own every piece of my wedding. She started showing up to vendor appointments uninvited. Once, Daniel and I met with a florist, and Emily swept in 10 minutes late and wearing heels that clicked like gunshots. She didn't even say hi. She grabbed the sample bouquet out of my hands and said, "No offense, Sarah, but this looks cheap. Roses are overdone. Let's do orchids. Classy, timeless." The florist glanced at me, unsure who the actual bride was, and my chest burned with humiliation. But the worst was the dress. God, the dress. I'd gone shopping with my best friend Alyssa and found the one. A simple satin gown with an open back and just enough detail to make me feel radiant without drowning in lace. I cried in the fitting room. Alyssa cried too. It felt perfect. 2 days later, Emily showed up at our parents' house for Sunday dinner wearing a white cocktail dress eerily similar to the one I just bought. She twirled around in front of Mom and said, "This would be so pretty for Sarah's wedding, right? As maid of honor?" I nearly dropped my plate. Mom clapped her hands and said, "Yes, you'll match your sister beautifully." I looked at Dad, hoping for backup. He just said, "It'll make the pictures cohesive." Cohesive. Like I was a supporting actress in my own wedding photos. That night I cried so hard my face hurt. Daniel held me while I choked out, "She's going to ruin everything." He kissed my forehead and whispered, "Then we don't let her." But how? How do you stop a storm everyone else keeps feeding? Things escalated fast after that. Emily started posting on Instagram about my wedding like it was hers, polls about color schemes, captions like helping my sis plan the event of the year. She even posted a selfie in a bridal boutique, trying on veils, with the caption, "Practice makes perfect." I got DMs from friends asking if we were having a joint wedding. One guy from college messaged, "Wait, whose wedding is this?" Each post was a knife, not just because she was stealing my spotlight, but because she knew exactly what she was doing. Emily thrived on my silence, the way I swallowed the rage. But silence is a funny thing. People mistake it for weakness when really it's just the sound of someone sharpening their blade. And I was sharpening mine. Because deep down I knew this couldn't just be another fight. This wasn't about one wedding. This was about years, decades of being erased. Emily wanted center stage? Fine. I'd give her one. And when the curtain dropped, she'd never forget it. The breaking point came 3 weeks before the wedding. We were at the venue for the final walkthrough. Me, Daniel, our planner, and of course, Emily. She wasn't even officially invited to that meeting, but she showed up anyway, iced coffee in hand like she owned the damn place. The coordinator was walking us through the ceremony setup when Emily interrupted. She marched right up to the altar, spread her arms wide, and said, "This is where I'll stand next to Sarah so everyone can see me." Not me and Daniel, her and me. The coordinator blinked, confused. I said, "Emily, the maid of honor doesn't stand at the altar. You'll be with the bridesmaids." Her face twisted into that fake pout she used as a weapon since childhood. "But it'll look unbalanced without me right next to you. I'm your sister. People expect to see us together." I swear my blood pressure spiked so high I could hear it in my ears. Before I could respond, she added, "Besides, Sarah's dress is really plain. Standing next to me will elevate the photos." Daniel stepped in then. God bless him. His voice was calm but sharp. "Emily, this is Sarah's wedding. You're not the star here. Please remember that." And oh, she did not take that well. She stomped down the aisle, got in his face, and hissed, "You don't get to talk to me like that. You should be grateful I'm even making this wedding look presentable." The coordinator pulled me aside later, gently suggesting we manage my sister on the big day to avoid disruption. That word stuck in my head. Disruption. That's what my whole life had been. Emily turning in every milestone of mine into her stage. The next morning, I woke up to find she'd posted another Instagram story, a boomerang of champagne glasses clinking with the caption, "Finalizing details for our big day." I stared at the screen, shaking with so much rage my phone almost slipped from my hands. Daniel found me in the kitchen, pacing, whispering, "She's going to ruin everything." He put his hands on my shoulders. "Then we don't let her. We hit her where it hurts." And something clicked. I thought about every moment Emily had stolen from me, every trophy overshadowed, every birthday eclipsed, every "you should be more like your sister." No more. If Emily wanted the spotlight so badly, then I was going to hand it to her, but not in the way she wanted. For the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I felt electric, because the plan was forming. And if it worked, Emily's obsession with attention was going to be the very thing that destroyed her. Update. Small checkpoint because y'all actually sent me notes and I needed to breathe before I wrote the next bit. Some of you said burn her dress. Tempting, not gonna lie. Also got 27 DMs suggesting I leak every petty text from childhood. Done. A few of you were like, go nuclear, post receipts, make a show, and honestly, that's exactly what I did, but legally and with witnesses. My friend Alyssa called it performative justice. Daniel called it strategic theater. And my mom, oh my God, texted me that morning saying, "Please don't humiliate her." Love that for her timing. So here's the thing. Revenge didn't feel like revenge at first. It felt like assembling a case. Screenshots, old videos, receipts, and the one recording that Emily never knew I had. Her voice bragging to a friend about controlling the bride's narrative. I printed the most brutal ones, gave copies to the planner, the DJ, and the photographer, and told them exactly what I needed. Expose, capture, and a controlled crescendo. I wanted witnesses, not whispers. I wanted the truth to land where it couldn't be gaslit away. The wedding day smelled like cut grass and lilies, which should have been calming. My hands trembled as I zipped into that satin dress. Daniel squeezed my fingers until my knuckles went white. Guests filled the small clearing. The sun was soft. Emily arrived, of course, immaculate, like a villain and designer. She hugged both parents in sequence, each hug longer than the last. My dad's eyes slid past me when she smiled. That familiar hot sting returned, but it was steadier this time. I breathed out and walked down the aisle. The first beat of the plan, midway through the ceremony when the officiant asked for a moment to share words about family. The DJ, my ace, faded the music. Instead, the projector slid to life on the trellis behind the altar. Childhood photos popped up, Emily blowing out candles on the couch while I held a paper crown made from a cereal box. A photo of me graduating while the family clapped only for her trophy case. Then the slideshow cut to screenshots. Mom writing, "Emily is so brilliant," in a text thread while ignoring my college acceptance screenshot. A DM from Emily to a friend reading, "I'll make it look like I'm helping her. People love a supportive sister, LOL." Lukewarm laughter at first, then an awkward hush. Emily's face went white. She mouthed, "You did not," and rose before I could stop her. She marched to the front and tried to grab the laptop, fingers scrabbling. That's when she escalated. She slapped the projector off the trellis hard enough the screen snapped and fell, paper shards scattering like confetti. Someone shouted. My photographer, my friend, kept shooting. I promised myself I'd look only at the pictures later. She screamed at my dad, calling him every name she'd quietly weaponized for years. Hypocrite, praise-monger, you always choose her. Then she lunged toward the cake table, shoved a bridesmaid aside, and smacked the frosted tears at the back of her hand. Buttercream flew. A kid started crying. My aunt fainted. The venue manager stepped in, and the DJ hit record on his phone. The montage had done its work. Guests were watching. People I'd never expected to notice looked at Emily with new eyes. Disbelief, confusion, and pity. My mom's face crumpled like paper. Dad stood motionless, small, and suddenly human. Emily ripped the veil from my head, hurled it into the crowd, and grabbed my bouquet, hurling it into the pond behind the ceremony. She was a force, uncontained, violent, hysterical, dragging the whole scene into real consequence. Security escorted her out after she smashed a rented lantern against a bench. Emily screamed from the driveway for my consent to explain later. My neighbor called the police because she threatened to drive off without her kids. She didn't, but she tried to turn the kids into props. The officers asked questions, took statements. My heart was a thudding drum in my chest that felt both terrified and oddly free. I stood in the sticky sunlight, cake frosting in my shoes and tears on my cheeks, while guests murmured and Daniel wrapped me in his arms. I didn't gloat. The victory was quieter. My parents' faces, the witnesses, the recorded proof now sitting in multiple devices. For the first time, the story would exist outside of my head. It would be documented and cross-checked and impossible to smother. I'd wanted her to stop stealing my life. I got more than that. I gave everyone a chance to finally see who she really was. And when you make a narcissist the center of attention, sometimes the show reveals the villain. Update 2. Okay, wow. First off, thanks for the insane flood of messages. Some of you said I went too far, some said not far enough, and one guy legit offered to Photoshop Emily's mug onto a WWE poster, still considering framing it. But here's the fallout, because oh my god, it didn't end when security dragged her out. After Emily's meltdown at the wedding, my parents tried to salvage the narrative. Mom whispered to guests, "She's just stressed." while Dad kept muttering, "It's not what it looks like." Except it was exactly what it looked like. A grown woman detonating my wedding because the spotlight wasn't hers. And the proof was everywhere. Photos, videos, half the guests already uploading to Facebook and TikTok. Within hours, bride sister freakout was circulating locally. People at my job sent me the clip like I hadn't lived it in real time. Daniel wanted to sue for damages after she destroyed the cake and projector. But honestly, watching her unravel publicly was better than any lawsuit. She couldn't spin this. For once, there was no version of the story where I was the bitter little sister making things up. But Emily wasn't done. 2 days later, she stormed into my apartment. Daniel wasn't home, thank God. She was barefoot, mascara smeared, carrying a trash bag stuffed with God knows what. She shoved past me, pacing like a wild animal, screaming, "You ruined me! Everyone thinks I'm crazy because of you!" She knocked the lamp off the table, ripped a framed engagement photo off the wall, and hurled it across the room. Glass everywhere. I was shaking, but not from fear. Adrenaline. For the first time, I didn't back down. I told her, "Emily, you ruined yourself. I just gave you the audience you begged for." That set her off. She threw the trash bag at me, clothes and heels spilling across my floor, then sobbed, collapsing onto the carpet, wailing about how our parents would never look at her the same again. And here's the kicker. She wasn't crying about me. She wasn't crying about what she did. She was crying because the world finally saw her without the golden glow my parents painted around her. She was exposed. I called Daniel, then the police. They escorted her out while she screamed bloody murder, threatening to make me pay. A restraining order's in the works now. My parents begged me not to press charges. Said she's fragile. But fragile people don't smash cakes and hurl projectors. Fragile people don't break into their sister's apartment to stage a tantrum. I told them flatly, "If she was fragile, you should have cared for her years ago instead of worshipping her while she cannibalized me." For once, they had no answer. And me? I finally feel the scales balancing. Not perfectly, there are scars, but for the first time in my life, I don't feel invisible. The weeks after the wedding felt surreal, like I'd stepped into an alternate timeline where people actually saw me. Friends, coworkers, even distant relatives reached out. My inbox was full of "holy shit, I had no idea" messages. An aunt I hadn't spoken to in years sent me screenshots of Emily DMing her the night after the wedding, trying to spin it into my fault. Apparently, Emily claimed I sabotaged her by editing those screenshots and staging the whole thing. Except, half the guests had the originals saved on their phones. Lies just crumbled under the weight of reality. Dench kept saying, "She's finally exposed." But it didn't end there. Emily wasn't just embarrassed. She spiraled. First came the job drama. She worked at some boutique marketing firm, always bragging about being their creative genius. Turns out her boss saw the viral video. A client recognized her and pulled their contract, saying they didn't want the crazy wedding wrecker associated with their brand. Within a week, she was let go. My mom sobbed on the phone, begging me to help your sister rebuild her reputation. I just laughed bitterly. Maybe she should have thought of that before smashing my cake. Then came the neighbors. Emily lived in a townhouse complex where appearances mattered, and after the video spread, people started whispering. She told my mom she felt hunted, like everyone was laughing at her behind her back. My mom said, "She barely leaves the house anymore." And I swear, instead of pity, I felt relief, because for once Emily was living in the shadow she'd forced me into all my life. But the real breaking point? The family fallout. Dad called me one night, voice heavy. Your mother and I, we can't keep defending her. I almost dropped the phone. This was the man who once grounded me for her breaking a vase. He sounded older than I remembered, almost tired. We see it now, Sarah. Maybe we should have seen it years ago. And while part of me wanted to scream, you think, another part just went quiet. Because hearing him finally admit it was like touching a bruise you'd lived with so long you forgot it was there. And realizing it still hurt. Emily, of course, didn't take the loss of her throne well. She showed up at our parents' house drunk one night, screaming about betrayal. Mom said she knocked over a lamp, threatened to burn the whole family down if they didn't cut me off. My dad told her to leave. That had never happened before. I wasn't there, but when Mom recounted it in a broken whisper, I could almost see it. Emily, red-faced, mascara smeared, standing in the ruins of her own making while the audience finally turned away. And me? For the first time, I didn't feel like the forgotten daughter anymore. I felt like the survivor. But closure is messy, and part of me wondered, if Emily had lived her whole life on a stage, what happens when the curtain falls? I was about to find out. The last time I saw Emily was 6 months after the wedding. Daniel and I were at a small cafe downtown, our new Saturday ritual, when I spotted her across the street. She looked different. Not glamorous, not polished, just small. Her hair was unwashed, clothes wrinkled, sunglasses too big for her face, like she was trying to hide inside them. She saw me, too. For a second I thought she'd storm over, claws out like always. Instead, she froze, then turned away like I was the ghost haunting her. That's when it hit me. I didn't need another showdown. The war was over. In the months after the wedding, Emily unraveled completely. She lost her job, burned through savings, and tried living with our parents again, but even they couldn't stomach her tantrums anymore. Dad told me she smashed a framed family photo when they refused to buy her a new car. Mom finally broke, yelling, "You've destroyed enough!" before locking her out. Emily ended up crashing with a friend, but even that fizzled after she allegedly stole money for emergencies. Her Instagram, once a non-stop feed of curated perfection, became a wasteland. Old posts deleted, comments disabled. A single cryptic story appeared one night. Just the words, "You all betrayed me," against a black background. Then nothing. Meanwhile, my life kept moving forward. Daniel and I bought a small house. The kind with creaky floors and a backyard just big enough for a garden. We hung one of the wedding photos in the living room. The one right after Emily was escorted out, where I'm still laughing with tears in my eyes, frosting on my dress. Daniel's arms wrap around me. It's messy, imperfect, but ours. And the wildest part? My parents actually started showing up for me. They invited just me and Daniel over for dinner. No Emily. Dad apologized. Not in the grand way I once fantasized about, but in small, clumsy words. "We should have seen you sooner. I'm sorry." And somehow that was enough. But the true closure came in silence. For years, Emily's voice was everywhere. Sharper, louder, drowning me out. Now, nothing. Just the memory of her standing on that street corner, unable to meet my eyes. Revenge wasn't the cake smashing, the slideshow, or even the viral humiliation. The real revenge was survival. It was building a life so solid she couldn't crack it, so bright she couldn't dim it. I spent years being erased, but on my wedding day I took it all back. And Emily, she got exactly what she wanted. Every eye on her, only to find that once the spotlight burned out, nobody was clapping. And for the first time in my life, I walked off stage free.